You ready, Penny? I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any items from the public? Okay, if there aren't any, I'm sorry, come on up. Yep, that's items from the public.
My name is Mary Tuesday. I'm just asking for a correction to my taxes. My house have been paying taxes as a class 3 instead of class 2.
Ma'am, this isn't the,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
have you gone to the assessor's office?
Yes, it's with Megan. She filed an appeal for exoneration. She told me.
Okay, but they don't set as the board of review and equalization until next Tuesday,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
so they can't act on that right now.
Okay.
So if you get with Penny later on, we can give you a time to come in.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I
it's
didn't.
okay.
I didn't want you to have to go through your
Oh,
presentation
you're good.
twice.
Yeah, Megan told me to come today, so sorry about that.
No, well,
confusion.
we can take care of it though.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thought I was missing something
No,
this
no.
morning. So, thank you very much. Any other items from the public? If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda if there's no modifications or changes?
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. The consent agenda, the purchase order. Any questions on that? No questions, alrighty. Internal budget revisions, we don't have any of those.
No, sir, not today.
Okay, change in status, new hire recommendation received from Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal for Rodney Krebs, Fred Walls, Charles Nykirk, I'm
Yes,
sorry, and Tracy Harmison as Deputy Court Marshals with an annual salary of $39,017, effective February the 1st, 2023.
Is this for the transportation?
This is the new transportation division that the council authorized effective February 1st. We moved 4 incumbent employees that have that kind of experience into the transportation unit, which is 401, Department 401. We set up a separate department, and these are deputy court marshals to backfill those positions.
Okay. Change in status received from the Honorable Anthony Petrucci, County Clerk, for Tom Gilliams. He is receiving a change in salary. He will go from $54,000 to $58,000 effective January the 15th, 2023. Change in status received from Jennifer Swisher, 911 Director for Delaney Lyson. She is going from a telecommunicator 1 to a telecommunicator 2 with a salary increase of $50,341 to $54,443 effective January the 19th, 2023. Change in status received from Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal for Edward Wilson. He is receiving a salary increase for 5-year service. He will go from $43,118 to $43,618 effective November the 1st, 2022. And that's all we have for the change in status. Approval of the minutes, January the 12th. Everyone was present. And
There's one motion there that I made the motion and seconded it too, I think. So we have to correct that one.
Okay.
That's the only thing I said.
Somehow. Cancel. Come on, there we go. Alrighty, our calendars reflect today is January the 26th. We're meeting here in the offices. On the 31st, Board of Review and Equalization on Tuesday. We'll have to be present for that. Let's see, move on down to Board and Commission calendars. 26th, the Library Board will meet at 5 and the Ambulance Authority at 5. Nothing for the 31st. And we'll get into February, nothing until Planning Commission on the 6th. Any changes or updates on that?
Mr. President, if I can, just point out that you will be sitting as the Board of Equalization and Review twice a week as required by code for the next, at least for the next 3 weeks through February the 16th.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, sir, Tuesdays and Thursdays, beginning at 2 in the afternoon, and from 2 until 4, we have budget hearings scheduled, presentations scheduled, and we have time allotted in between in case anyone wants to come in and talk to you about their taxes.
Okay. So the first one is for Tuesday, January the
It's
31st.
actually next Tuesday.
Next
yes, sir.
Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, I think got that. Okay, we have a voting commission calendars. We have a bond release, Berkeley Ridge, Phase 4, lots 19 through 38, 190 through 241, and 258 through 277, BCP file number 53-03 tied to Llama case 2010-297, and bond security is SU 11411153, engineering department recommendation. Bond release for Red Hill, Phase 6, final plat bond, BCP file 2112-460, tied to BCP file 033-05, bond CIC 1912095, engineering department recommendation. Bond reduction, Timberwood East, Phase 2, BCP file 2203-069, tied to BP file 2209-2271, an engineering department recommendation. And anybody have any questions on those? Okay, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda for January 26, 2022.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. We have the Honorable Larry Hess here for correction of assessment logs and 2 personal property tax, 4 personals, and 1 real estate. Mr. Hess, all for you.
Yeah, the first 2 is taxpayer error. Now, on the 3rd page, we have another one that's taxpayer error, and she put it on as office error. You want to do all 3 of them at one time, we can do that, but they're on separate pages. So the first 2, the taxpayer error, for the reasons that's there, they reported vehicles, and they said they didn't have them. Those 2 was for $543.92. And if you want to do that 3rd one, the 3rd page,
The first one's personal property though, right? The second one's real estate.
that's right.
You may want to do those separate. Fire.
Okay, that's all. Good. Okay, so the first 2, personal property, $543.92.
Mr. President, I move to accept the 2 taxpayer error personal property exonerations in the amount of $543.92.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion
All right,
denied.
thank you. I do have office error personal property. We have 4 of them, that is correct, for in the amount of $446.49.
Okay,
What's the difference between the taxpayer error did not own vehicle and the office error did not own vehicle?
Say that again?
Well, on taxpayer error, you had somebody who did not own vehicle or belonged to another person. On office error, you had taxpayer did not own vehicle.
Yeah, well, these are, on the first one, you're talking about taxpayer error for the ones that, for the trailers.
No, for,
First one?
yeah.
Yeah, what happened is this guy moved to Morgan County, and his car was registered in Morgan County, and he had trailers he left here, a couple trailers, but they had to be assessed in Berkeley County. So when they assessed it and did a supplemental bill, they put his automobile on with the trailers, and the automobile shouldn't have been on there. And as far as the other one, what was the question on the other one? Why is it?
Well, it says the same thing, taxpayer did not own vehicle, but that was an office error.
Yeah, well, they put it on the report and send it in on the return on those. And so it's a taxpayer error. They reported it even though they said they didn't have it. This was your all's decision to anybody that reported anything on their return was taxpayer error. And that's what's going on with those. And since we got new people here for this year, I think it might be an idea to reconsider that. What we used to do with these was when this here was a taxpayer error for this one particular, well, a lot of them, is that they're elderly people and they forget to mark out a vehicle if they sell it. And it could be several $100s for taxes. We always give them one time, exemption for one time. Let's say, if you forget to do that, didn't mark it out, we'd say, okay, we'll give you one shot at that. You do it again, you're going to pay for it. But you all made a decision a couple of years ago not to do that.
That's on the form that goes out early. They have to fill out, and if they don't mark it out.
Comes in every year in July. Yeah. And if they forget to mark them out, it's a taxpayer error, and I have to report them that way. But we used to give them one shot chance, especially for people that doesn't understand that, and that they don't remember to do that or whatever.
Or don't even fill that paper out and then come in here and pay.
Yeah. So, it could be $500-$600, and people, others people, they can't afford it. But if they keep doing it, I'd say the second time, forget it. We'll give you one shot at it. But,
I think that was a state law or something in legislation that did not allow it. But if your office was doing it, that was up to you. Anthony, can you do a little bit of research and give us an update on that? Would that be
I certainly can. I'll have to check, but I don't think there's any specific guidance that says you can't moderate because of certain taxpayer areas versus others.
okay?
It's your decision, but I would look into that.
Okay, thank you.
okay. We do have one other taxpayer error.
Did we vote on that?
No,
We need to call for the question. I'm sorry.
We didn't vote on that last one.
We just got motions in a second. We haven't voted on it. Sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. President, I make a motion, we accept the office error on personal property as presented by the assessor in the amount of $446.49.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Already been answered. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries. Number two,
Thank you.
3.
Got one other office error. Well, it's taxpayer error, but it's for real estate. For this lady we sent out, she bought this property, and she said she owned it July 1 of 21, and we didn't get the form back where we asked them if they were live at it, or not going to live at it. It was in class 3 because it was a foreclosure. We didn't hear back from her. It didn't get changed. It's in class 3. And so we have to call that a taxpayer error. That gets changed for next year, but it's for $953.85.
And I believe that is her. I know in the past we've had those come up. So
Yes, okay.
I think that's what she's here.
That's what she's here for.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Anthony, I'll take a little bit of advice on this one. Do we hear the taxpayer?
I've heard before, there's been a couple times where the taxpayers come in, said what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change now to us.
Yeah.
That's your decision.
Again. If I remember correctly, there was a case brought before us about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, that the form was not sent back in and we did not allow that. Is that correct? Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah. The only reason, if we don't know if it's still a higher tax class or not, if we don't get the information back. A lot of people buy these foreclosures and they rent them out. So we don't, unless we get some notification that it's changed, if it's been occupied, it's in class 3. We just didn't get anything on this one.
You can certainly allow it.
Sure, come on up.
So I actually never.
Now we'll let you come on up, now let you state your name.
Sorry for the confusion there. So yeah, my name is Mary Ruth, but I never received an assessment form. Unfortunately, this is my first home, so I didn't know that I needed to fill that out. I have all my contracts and everything. I'm actually a half loan recipient, so I've certified probably 4 or 5 times throughout the process that it will be an owner occupancy. I also have my utilities in my name, paid by me for the last year and a half. I'll have to present to you if you'd like to see it. That's the.
What was your purchase date?
May 26, 2021. And I've lived there since that time.
Can I?
Sure.
I'm her father,
Just state your name for the record.
Matthew Ridgway. The property was previously owned by Fannie Mae, so we expect maybe the form went there, I'm not sure. She never received it, and as the first time buyer, she didn't know she had to file it. When we discovered it, we had her report it to the assessor and requested, obviously, the follow-through for the exoneration, which does happen. I understand that it has on a regular basis based upon this classification. She moved there in May of 21. Was owner occupant the entire time, has been until she's still. And there's the code permits an exoneration, West Virginia State Code, based upon that information, I believe. And Mr. Hess, I think, filed the appropriate form for the exoneration. The code is West Virginia 11-3-27 that permits the exoneration, if you're all's will, based upon the facts, not what form was filed per se, but the facts of the case. So she raised her hand when she discovered that it was misclassified, and after some communication, ultimately the form's been filed correctly. Now, the good news is, first half taxes are paid. That would correct what is actually due for the whole year. So she's only asking for an exoneration for essentially the second half, which would be put her back to class 1 rate, and then moving forward, we assume it would be class 1. Or class 2,
Class 2,
yeah. Class 2, not class 1. So yeah, that's what she's looking for, is just what's the right thing, really. She's been an owner occupant since May 21st, that's 26th of 2021, and didn't get the form, but once she discovered she did get the form, she notified the county assessor to say, I didn't get the form, what do we need to do? And he ultimately did file the exoneration, request for exoneration. I have had the same thing happen in Jefferson County with other taxpayers, and it seems like a procedural thing there. Not that it's different, it wouldn't be different here, but basically that's what we had anticipated, was that the county would like to have the taxes assessed as they should be, which is, she's been an owner occupant. She does have, for everyone to review, all the information as to the deed, ownership, everything related to showing that ownership and occupancy has happened since May 26, 2021. So as of July 1, when she would have later that year gotten a notification, she didn't receive that form. Presumably may have gone to Fannie Mae since they were the prior owner. And then when she figured out that she needed to file the form, she notified the assessor. And they said, okay, well, and with some after a few phone calls, she filed the appropriate exoneration form, and that's why we're here today.
Okay.
So,
I have a question for Mr. Hess. When this form is sent out, is it sent out to the current address of the home, or is it sent with other documentation?
The address of the property.
Sent to the address.
And we did send the form out.
okay.
So we got it back.
She said she never received it, and I believe that. I don't know. The reason for it. She received it, she would have come to me and said, hey,
I will say I live at 15 street name east, and there's a 15 street name west, and so we constantly get our mail mixed up, so I'm not sure if it went there and they didn't recognize the name, they tossed it or whatever the case may be, but our mailing line is a little unreliable, unfortunately.
you're welcome to review. She has packets for everyone, and they want to review the documentation.
I don't think that's the part that's in question. I think it's the form that needs to be filled out to sent back in.
Right, but like you was seen as a first-time buyer, she didn't know she needed it.
We had the exact same thing happen about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
and it was denied.
Mr. President, I only advise you to be consistent.
Yes.
So typically, for as long as I can remember, if it was deemed by the assessor's office as taxpayer error, then that's the way you treat it. If you're gonna treat this differently, then I think the council, this current council as a body, should decide going forward that you're gonna consider all taxpayer errors the same. You can't pick and choose.
Pick and choose, that is correct.
We would,
I would just echo that, or if it's certain cases, like we've had this case once where I think it was a deputy that works in Jefferson County. You know, similar situation. Some taxpayer errors are different, but again, it's you, the elected council, it's small, as long as you're consistent.
I,
Yeah, but they're tough decisions.
I would hope that you would rule on the facts, which are what the taxpayer, if they occupy the property or not, and not what they, and under the terms. And I think that's what the state code reflects. They're looking for facts related to the occupancy and the status as of July 1, or in this case, 2021, setting 2022 taxes. 11-3-27, I think, addresses it. And then creates a procedure to go back and get the exoneration, which I think is appropriate in this case, but again.
I got one more question to ask legal. Would this isn't considered an appeal right here, is this correct?
No, this isn't an appeal of classification. So classification, if the assessor says that it's class 3, the taxpayer says it's class 2, that would go to the state tax department when there's a contest of what class that is. Here, I think it's agreed that moving forward, it's class 2. The question is whether to rebate that when it was taxed improperly because of the failure of file. So this comes before you. Usually, you don't get to decide classification.
I just don't think it's fair that she should have to pay that if she truly lived in that home during that time.
I don't either.
It was not class 3 property that. you know,
Same thing happened before, but it was the taxpayer error, and that's the consistency.
Is there another process that she can appeal?
That was sort of, I was alluding to that. I don't know if it was an appeal at the state to determine for
Well, for an exoneration, I don't want to provide any legal advice, but this is kind of it when it comes to exoneration.
okay.
And again, I think you guys are elected to uphold the law of the county. And in this case, the law of the county is if you're an owner from July 1 of a given year, that sets the tax rate for the following year. I don't think an oversight by a taxpayer for not receiving a form is what the intent of the law is. I think the intent of the law is to establish firmly what the occupancy status was at that time. And then the exoneration is for the purpose of correcting it if in fact a mistake was made.
Don't disagree, but the consistency is what I'm looking at right now.
I understand, but I'm not sure that precedent stands on facts, meaning you know the facts, which are that she was owner occupant, clearly on July 1, 2021.
I understand, but there's a fact that the form was not filled out and sent back in.
And-
Mr. President, you're getting into a
I-
gray area. This
yeah.
is not an
Not-
agenda item.
yeah.
Yeah, so anyway,
I would caution.
we would, you know, hope that the court would rule in her favor and exonerate her for the taxes at this point are paid for the year if it's class 2, because she's already paid the $930 due. You're exonerating the second half, which would bring it back to normal, what it should have been perhaps if in fact that this form had been received and filed.
Understood.
And she's a first-time buyer, and all her paperwork reflects that. And like I said, she has all the paperwork necessary to demonstrate that she's been there since May 26th of 2021.
And if I may, what we've done before is allow a taxpayer to come in and speak. I mean, this is getting kind of something coming out on behalf of the taxpayer. I mean, Mr. Wrigley is not an attorney.
I'll step back.
I just don't wanna get in
I'll step back.
too far afield.
She has,
Sure.
Usually you just take.
she can provide the documentation if you'd like to review it.
Okay,
All right, thank you for hearing us and
Mhm.
appreciate your time.
okay, thank you. Okay,
Mr. President, I move to accept the exoneration for office error of taxpayer error of real estate in the amount of $953.85.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with this the last time it was before us. Um, But still, at the very end of the day, I think that that it does come down to the responsibility of the taxpayer to be able to, and unfortunately, I understand exactly where you're coming from. You're first-time home buyer, it's all new experience, you have no real idea about taxes, and so I truly do understand that situation. It's just puts us in a tight spot moving forward about consistency and fairness with folks that come before us, almost weekly or
Just about weekly.
yeah. So
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Might have to do a show of hands. Like sign opposed? 3 to
Thank you.
2. Motion carried. Okay. Is that it at the taxpayers? Yeah. One more thing. Board of meeting reports, Mr. Boyd.
I had one meeting this week. It was the CBB board, my first meeting again. So they did election of officers. They're shorthanded a little bit. They're looking for some more members there on that board. Gonna see what I can do to try to find some more to help them out there. They elected Tracy Sherman as the president and Roger Engel as the vice president.
Yeah, they got qualifications on that board.
I believe so. I'm still trying to learn. Were in time constraint. It was yesterday at 1 o'clock, and they had to be out of there by 2 for one reason or another. And so it was hard for me to ask a lot of questions and learn a lot yesterday in the meeting. But I believe so. But I think they had a couple of people just leave and recently
How many
leave.
slots they need to fill?
I want to say like 3. I think they only have one. And the city has one on there, but that's Shane. He said that he thinks they're going to move him to a liaison position versus being a member. So if he comes off, that's another one. So they have Tracy, Mr. Engel, Todd Funkhauser, and well, actually, they said there was 2 people absent yesterday. So maybe they don't have 3. Maybe. Okay, so it's somewhere in there, but I do believe they need a couple more members, and so they voted those 2 in as vice president and president. They gave me a quick rundown on some things. I gave some recommendations. I think we're going to discuss further with ideas of things they could do to tie things together here in the county. There were some suggestions to maybe use the new museum board as that entity that pulls a lot of the historic sites together to try to team them up to make it a tourist destination. So we have more than one place to go visit or things that are open on a regular basis to really do their job of bringing more tourism and keeping people in Martinsburg. Right now, a lot of people stay in the hotels here, but travel to Harpers Ferry and to Winchester and to Hagerstown and different things. We have no battlefield here in Berkeley County, according to them. I guess they know better than I. And so that's one reason they say that a lot of people come here to go across the borders, but we're getting the hotel tax out of it. Then other than that, they gave out a $5,000 grant to the Apollo for an upcoming event. And that was about the basis of the meeting.
Okay. Mr. Barnhart. Well, have anything, I'm sorry, anything else, HG?
No, I think that was it for this week. I have a library board meeting tonight. So,
Thank you.
Did we get the thing resolved on the Main Street thing?
I'm thinking so. Actually,
Yes. Mr. Delier's gonna stay on as a voting member, and then
He's gonna be
he'll be the
able to attend,
liaison,
right?
yes. But yes, we have that resolved.
Mr. Barnhart.
Again, thank you, Mr. President. I had a Berkeley Morgan Board of Health meeting in Berkeley County. Of course, the reports were given. I don't know if you all noticed, but they tore down Ruby Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a car wash.
Car wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not far from another one that's
Yeah,
over there.
well, you have none, and all of a sudden you have them everywhere.
A lot of dirty
It's kind of
cars.
like Dollar General stores, they're popping up everywhere. Let me see. They closed Martinsburg Family Diner again, so it's on monthly inspections. It must be a real nice place, I tell you. I think it's been closed 2 or 3 times already. They, of course, gave an administration report of course, that was for half the year. Income was I can't even see it. 1.2 million, and outflow was 1.2 million. It's slightly less, but I think it's like $40,000 less. They gave the meeting schedule. I gave that to Tracy, and they did approve the new logo for the health department. It used to be the public health logo, and now it's different, and I don't have a copy of it, so I can't provide you with a copy of it. But, and then I had a water board meeting scheduled. It was also Monday, and the Board of Health meeting didn't let out till 5:30, and the water district was 5 o'clock. So I knew I'd not get there till 6, which is probably most of the meeting, so I didn't attend.
Very good. Anything else?
That's all I can do.
Okay. Let's go, Canary.
Yes, sir. The only thing that I had, Alan and I met with the contractors for the Dunn building renovation on Friday. And they did a walking tour, once again, to lay out some things that need to be done. And then also I left there and went to a meeting with Doug Smith, Brian Ross, and Laura Hoffmaster with DOH, dealing with some road issues. We had conversations of the necessity of the improvements that need to be made. The meeting originated over entrance permits to developments in particular. So that was a good meeting, but I wanted to thank Doug, Laura, and Brian in particular for their assistance and participation in that meeting.
They give you any schedule on some of these improvements, like Tavern Road, Route 11, that kind of stuff?
No, sir. And we didn't really drill down into anything that's upcoming. It was more about the necessity of the improvements that we all feel that need to be done. So, I mean, we had, 2 folks here that, one's a traffic engineer, the other one deals with permits. So, every opportunity we get, we're talking to whoever from DOH about improvements that are needed.
So you got approval for Route 9 expansion?
Yes, Mr. Barnhart, we did.
They had no clout.
And neither do I, apparently, or we.
Yeah.
So, but that's it.
That's it. Mr. Catley.
Yes, had a sewer board meeting Tuesday night, and Gary's here. The concern came up, and then Greg Rowe, who's on both the water board, brought up the same concern. Apparently, Frontier and their lines of putting in the fiber optics has been causing some damage to the sewer and water lines. And it's the subcontractors, of course, but they're representing Frontier. And we need to find a way to resolve this so that they're reimbursed for the damages that it's costing them to repair.
They have a certain, Frontier has a unit set up just to investigate damage claims. They went through our subdivision and we had the same thing where they were up and we called Frontier and they said, it's not us, you've gotta actually fill, I could get contact information for you, but you have to actually fill out a formal complaint and then they have a third party investigate.
You know, some of them are marked and some of them were in the wrong place, you know, it's different things.
I think they're just after the ones that's truly the
Blatantly.
responsibility, the fault of the subcontractors. So. But it is going to amount to some significant costs, so it should be worked out. And then following that was the stormwater board, and I assume at some point here in the near future we're going to have to make a decision on whether to be with their new permit, whether to proceed with that and be a co-signee on that. So, I know they can't move forward with the permit until that happens. So I think we need to pursue that. But,
And a modification of it.
yes. And of course, they want to adopt a new ordinance that won't go into place unless that is done first. So, I was supposed to have a senior service meeting yesterday, but this snowstorm wiped that meeting out. So
It was worse out your way, wasn't it?
it was. When I got home, we had 3 or 4 inches out there. So.
Yeah. I didn't have near that.
And my granddaughters got none, and they were off school and couldn't sled ride, so it was a real dilemma. So, and then I have an ambulance authority meeting this afternoon at 5. But I did meet with them yesterday at lunch at their facility, and I had Dave there, Urban, the board president, as well as their top officials, and we had a good 2-hour conversation, and I got a real feel for what they're all about, and it seems like they have their act together and they're doing very well. So I appreciate what they do for the community, and it was good to get a better understanding of that particular board. So
Okay. Anything else?
that does it for me.
That does it?
I have one more thing.
Sure.
We didn't have a roundhouse meeting, but we did have some things happen. I don't know if it's the time to put that or not.
Go ahead.
So we got everything done, and we're getting ready to run the ad to go to bid early, or about a month and a half early at least, for the elevators and steps. And then we also had a meeting with the fire chief of police, Mr. Clone from the state roads, about turning around the one-way out to make it a one-way in above the underpass for easier access to the roundhouse. I think that meeting went well. We're going to try to get on the agenda in the city to put that in front of the council to get that road reversed.
I did have something else too, Jim. I forgot that I sent y'all a copy of the forwarded email I got from Curtis about that Senate Bill 715 that was passed, I think in 09 or whatever. That's never been changed, so it could have a severe impact on future growth in this county if we don't try to resolve that issue. And it's about trading off the things, and apparently it's done by case to case, and it's just not worked out to the point where it's been going on now for 13 years and it still hasn't been resolved. So we need to really monitor that and make sure that happens and gets worked out. But that could be pretty significant impact on us.
Okay. All right. I had a Eastern Panhandle Transit Authority meeting, and part of my board is in here, I guess, to give their presentation. They're moving right along with the acquisition of 2 buses that are of the Ford chassis, and they are quite the modular fit for our service here, with the ability for wheelchair handicap accessible. The lighting is upgraded. Elaine was invited out to see the exact bus that is being built for our county here because of a requirement that is in the funding for the grant money. Make sure we get what we are paying for, and so she was our eyes on site. Second is the new bus terminal coming up, and I won't spoil too much of the thunder there, so since she's here to give her report for budget, but it's moving right along. There was some good discussion about accessing points, lighting, stormwater management, things like that, so, but I'll let Elaine give a little bit better, more detail about that, so. And that is it.
I had one more thing, I'm
Yep,
sorry.
that's okay.
I'm senile on my age, but also I've got a response from Matt Mullinex, who's the executive director of the MPO, because we requested a meeting with some head officials at the DOT, West Virginia DOT, and he's working to try to schedule that, and hopefully that meeting will be held here. They would come here instead of us supposed to going to Charleston, so try to get more impact and get some influence on what decision making is in terms of our roads here. So.
Very good. Okay. New board application received from a community member, Donald Silvis, for Berkeley County Museum Board. Do we want to start bringing those in yet for interviews? And motion to appoint Jamaica. Nope, sound like mine. Okay. To the Criminal Justice Board, do we have a motion for that?
What was her last name?
Yeah, that's what you wanted me to do. Danny, what was her last name? You.
Lyomir?
Iamir. Is that close enough? I'm so sorry, Jamaica.
I tell you what, she was really a great applicant.
Yes, she
and,
was.
Just, yeah.
I just didn't want to embarrass myself too much. Eddie,
Well,
so thank
I
you.
just wanted to try you out there, want to see how you just going to do with it.
And I did terrible. Thank you.
We'll make a motion.
Yes, sir. I like to make the motion to accept or make the appointment of Jamaica M. Meyer to the Criminal Justice Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries. And now we have honorary councilperson Esteban Hernandez from South Middle School. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Pretty close?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to swear you in. Eddie? Yep. Okay.
I, like this, Esteban Hernandez,
Swear or affirm
the swear or affirm
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of West Virginia,
of the State of West Virginia,
that I will work hard
that I will work hard
to fulfill the responsibilities
to fulfill the
of the office of honorary council member of the office of the honorary council member to which I have been appointed.
which I have been appointed.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
So he's nervous.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous.
Yeah.
No, this is fine. Just relax. Would you please tell folks a little bit about yourself? What your goals
Sure.
and desires and dreams are?
Well, I'm from Mexico. I've been here like 2 years. I like to, I know my soccer team. I like video games, technology, all stuff. What else? I got 2 siblings. Alright.
So you play soccer and you like electronic, like all the video
Yeah.
games, so your thumbs are like really exercise, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, well, welcome. If you have any questions, please ask our board members or councilman board, say, hey, what about this, what about that? And if you have any ideas or suggestions, we'd love to hear them.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just for right now.
So we'll let you hang around and we'll take a break and we'll get a picture for the our Facebook page and for you and your school. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. President, if you back up, we would like to send the reappointment of the packet out to Planning Commission members Linda Barnhart and Vakana Norton.
I have Linda Barnhart's application or thing
Yeah.
with, and I'll take it home to me.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know about the cane.
Okay. All righty. Next on the items of the agenda is Honorable Will Lawrenson, Fiduciary Supervisor. estate hearing of,
I'll go ahead.
you'll go ahead, yeah.
Good morning, council. Yes, this estate hearing is going to be fairly straightforward. All I'm asking is for this council's consideration to appoint a fiduciary commissioner for the matter, and I'll highlight some facts for the estate of Petrus A. Vanderhorst. On September 26, Mr. Vanderhorst passed away, a resident of Berkeley County, West Virginia. On October 24th, Mary Elizabeth Bray, daughter of the decedent, came into the fiduciary supervisor's office to qualify as her father's executrix. She was named in the presented last will and testament of the decedent. Also listed in her father's will as co-executor was the decedent's surviving spouse, Francisca Michael. However, Ms. Bray presented my office with a signed and notarized disclaimer of property signed by Ms. Michael, seemingly indicated that she wanted nothing to do with Mr. Vanderhorst's probate and or his probate assets gifted to her in the will. Curiously, as you can see in Exhibit 2 of your read-ahead, the signature page was separate from all other language of the renunciation and declination of Mr. Vanderhorst's property. Nevertheless, my office, seeing no legal reason to withhold the document, recorded the renunciation on public record. On January 11th, Ms. Michael, by counsel, reached out to my office with a signed affidavit claiming that she was misled when signing this renunciation and only wished to waive her right to serve as co-executor to streamline the probate process. My office immediately reached out to Mrs. Susan Snowden, fiduciary commissioner of this county, to see if she had any conflict with an interested party of Mr. Vanderhorst's estate. She later revealed that she indeed had no conflict. On January 23rd, my office received another affidavit from a Mr. William S. Fralin, a licensed attorney and personal friend of Ms. Michael, reaffirming Ms. Michael's version of events and also claiming that both Ms. Bray and Mr. Vanderhorst's other children were refusing to speak with Ms. Michael regarding their father's probate. Given these affidavits, my office asks this council to consider appointing Susan Snowden as a fiduciary commissioner to hear evidence from all parties regarding the instant matter.
Sounds fun.
If proven correct and with the requisite intent, there very likely could be a criminal investigation.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation from the fiduciary supervisor. Do we have a motion to accept Susan Snowden to?
Well, do any of the family members object to this, object to Susan Stone?
Not to my knowledge, counsel. However, objection to a commissioner is much like a commissioner serves as a finder of fact in the instant matter, just so this council doesn't have to serve as judges. What Mrs. Snowden's office is instructed to do is to search for legal conflicts in the matter, and her office is in Jackson Kelly's conflicts checks. Folks indicated there was no conflict.
Yes, sir, I'm prepared to make the motion if you're ready, sir.
Yes, sir. I am ready.
Motion to accept the recommendation for to appoint Ms. Susan Snowden as the fiduciary commissioner on the estate of Mr. Vanderhorst.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries.
No, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Need this one too?
Oh no, this one is
Okay.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you, counsel.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda, Gary Wine, Deputy County Administrator, memorandum for declaration of surplus vehicle and equipment. Good morning.
So
In the memo, it recognizes two types of assets. The first ones are computer equipment. You probably is very well could be the first memo of us looking to declare surplus of equipment because we use it, share it, and we wear it out to the end until it's recycled. But in this instance, these are network switches. And over the past couple of years, we went through an effort to do upgrades. So we have many that have some street value that have absolutely no use to us and no use to any outside agencies. Their technology is older. So what we're asking is the opportunity to sell them through gov deals like we have all the other stuff. And the second item is a bus that we used in community service that was gifted or transferred from the transit authority. So it's been out of service now for the better part of a year, year and a half. It's time to get it off the lot and out of the way. After the criminals cut the catalytic converters off, it's pretty much useless right now. They were more value than the bus is itself. So just a matter of process if the council sees fit to declare it surplus, and we'll auction it and get the best price we can.
These port switches, there's no information on them.
They're already wiped, sir. They're absolutely blank.
What kind of value do these things have? You know?
As old as those are, you might see $20, $30 a piece for them. We'll sell them as a lot, probably makes the most sense instead of individual. Or two lots of.
Mr. President, I move to make the bus and the port switches surplus property.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Yes, sir. The proceeds from the sale of the F-350, should that go back to the transit authority?
We purchased that bus from them.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought it was,
It was a surplus bus that they were kind enough to sell us, but the Federal Transportation Administration wouldn't let them give them to us, so we actually purchased it.
okay.
But if you so choose, you can decide to do that
Well-
in lieu of their budget requests.
Right.
I certainly would support. I would support that.
Well, I just, I assumed that they had donated the bus as surplus from them, and I did not want us to, take those funds from them.
Yeah, because FTA funds were used to purchase the bus, at least the majority of it, they could not give it to us. We purchased, I think it was very much.
I think it was
$1,500 or something. Yeah, it wasn't very much.
Okay.
It's about what the catalytic converters were.
Yeah, well, they're off of it now.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
sure that price is depreciated.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, any other questions? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break and get some pictures with our honorary council person. And Okay. Okay, we're back in session. Next on the agenda is Elaine Bartleson, Director, Eastern Panhandle Transit Authority, for 23-24 budget presentation. Along with the Honorable Chair Charlie
Yes.
Hall.
Good morning, and I did bring a board member, my treasurer, Charlie Hall. Oh, he's right over here, sorry. I left him back there. He's right here, so. I did forward the information to your tablets. Julie was gracious enough to send that to you, so I'm not really going to go through them page by page, but what I do want to talk about post-COVID, which I know we're still in COVID, but for all intents and purposes, the FTA has said we're post-COVID. So ridership has begun to increase. Riders are coming back for the routes. Our demand response transportation has never really faltered. We're up over 56% in that. But our routes, we're just down 36% of where we were last year after 6 months. So that's encouraging that the routes are coming back. And I did do some calculations based upon the current ridership, and it's 68% of our ridership comes from Berkeley County. So Berkeley County is an important resource for my riders, for our agency, as well as EPTA being a resource for Berkeley County.
What's your most used route?
Pardon?
What's the most used route?
Probably Route 10, which takes you to the hospital and Walmart through town. And then really out to the VA, south to Inwood. So, and then out to the workforce at Macy's, Blood, and FedEx out there.
Elaine, say that again, 60
68%
is county residents?
Mm-hmm. So that is encouraging that, you know, we are, we're up over 14% from last year and just down to 36. So that is encouraging. I just want to touch base on our building project. I know President Whitaker was sharing that. We are working very hard on that, and we are on point with where we're supposed to be in this process. We are approaching 90% design and engineering, and the proposed layout is on your tablets. We're going to have the admin building, the transfer station, the fueling station, and the maintenance facility all in that one lot, 4-acre lot on the corner of Race and Raleigh. So we're going to be more accessible to our riders and to the community.
We still maintain the present?
Most likely not. I don't believe I will have the funding to be able to keep a satellite location up. So, you know, when we started this project, the FTA did say that we could sell that property and reinvest those funds into the new project. So, if we do sell it, that's where those funds will go. And then we did just purchase new buses, 2 new buses. They were expansion buses for our fleet that I received that funding prior to April 2020. The expansion was supposed to be for 30 passenger buses because at the time, you know, we had a plethora of CDL drivers available to us, and that's what we needed were the bigger buses for passengers. The reality is one of our biggest struggles is CDL drivers. It's easy to bring them on, difficult to hang on to them because there's such a demand for them that they'll come and leave for just a higher pay. So I was able to amend my application through the FTA and purchase 12 passenger buses, 12 and 2s, which are 12 passengers plus 2 wheelchair compartments, with those funds that I were allocated for the other expansion buses. So the funds that were allocated to me prior to 2020 covered the new cost of those smaller buses. So unfortunately for us in the transit industry, vehicle prices have doubled, which is pretty shocking, and we just can't get the parts and components. So we have it's a challenge. But one of the things we did do recently was we did become approved to train CDL drivers. And hopefully that will alleviate some of our struggles. We do have a trainer on staff that can train Class B CDL drivers with passenger endorsement. So hopefully they'll come on board, learn that, and we'll be able to retain them.
Does all your buses require CDL or just larger?
No,
Just a larger-
anything over 15 requires. So we have a fleet of 11 vehicles that are non-CDL, and then the rest are CDL.
How many is that?
15.
15 more.
So, and then one thing I want to talk about is the new census. Although the numbers have leaked for the 2020 census, it was quite shocking to me that we were at 197,000 and change for that census. My reality is that when our population becomes over 199,999, I lose my 5307 operating assistance from the feds. And I have to rely totally on local funding. So the reality is I'm 2,400 people away from losing funding. If Berkeley County, our urbanized zone, which runs from Berkeley County, Jefferson County, Pennsylvania, Maryland, a little piece of Pennsylvania, Maryland, and down into Virginia. So,
Tiny little piece of Frederick County. Tiny.
And, while the next census is 2030, we have to prepare for that to be able to be here in 2030 past.
But you're good for the next 10 years, or
I am.
7 or 8 years, I guess.
Yeah. So once that population goes over, there's a specific period of time before I will lose everything. I believe it's 3 years. They haven't changed it yet, but 3 years past that funding goes away for us. So I'm leading into my request. I have requested $150,000 annual support, which is what I did last year, and the commission was very gracious with me this year, and I would hope that they would continue at the level or slightly higher this level of for next year. The big challenge for us right now is the grant money I'm receiving from the feds. I don't produce enough local match to draw it down. So I've been carrying over federal funds from fiscal year to fiscal year because they're just not there. My municipalities support me very graciously, and my contract revenue is what makes up my local match for those federal dollars. So it's important that across the board, I'm hoping the municipalities see us as a benefit to our communities, and it's a resource that if we go away, there's a lot of people that won't be able to move and get around.
I noticed on your list of things you want to do, you had bus shelters twice.
Okay. Yep. So I had, last year the bus shelters were on there, and unfortunately when we went to place the order, once again COVID, they withdrew their offer. So we had to go back out to bid. That's why they're back on this year. So I have plans to purchase 15 bus shelters, which I have grant money for. We will be purchasing new bus stop signs. We have all the permits from Division of Highways, so all the locations have been approved. So it's a matter of when they can get manufactured.
Any of them, are they for Berkeley, Jefferson counties?
Yep.
And various.
All our
sundry
stops.
places?
All stops, and including on-call stops. So if we have a non-producing stop, and I don't want to say James Rumsey isn't a producing stop, but we don't need to drive up Route 9 if we don't have anybody at James Rumsey. So we're moving that to an on-call stop. Shenandoah Community Health is on one route, but another route goes by there, and that's a high traffic location. So we will, if somebody calls, it's designated on the other route, but it's an on-call stop. So
What about your contract services? Does that include Harper's Ferry?
Harpers Ferry National Park, yes,
Yeah, I was very happy to hear that you got that back.
I was too.
Yeah.
Listen, when we lost that contract, it was devastating. It was 30 years that we held that contract, and when the Park Service brought it back out, it was only for small business set aside. So it was awarded to a small business out of Staten Island, New York. We did reach out to them, and fortunately, they were willing to subcontract us. So we have never left the park, my drivers and my mechanic down there, and we have been providing that service. So, but the Park Service did give us that contract back, so we're directly dealing with them.
Right. And the other thing is, you say you have a trainer for CDLs on staff now. Is there any type of incentive that you use, or I don't know, you call it a hook that, look, if I'm going to train you, then you need to guarantee me that you're going to give me a year or 2 years, 10 years, whatever. Otherwise, you'll just be a training ground, and out the door they'll go.
So we're going to ask them to give us at least a year. Right now, because we are so new at it, if they come with us with a CDL without the passenger endorsement, that's what we're going to do, train them on the passenger endorsement, then bring them on staff. We do have 2 current staff members that we are going to train with a CDL. They've been longtime employees, and we want to give them that opportunity because they have expressed interest. And I don't believe they would leave if they were able to get it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, new employees that say, "Oh,
Yeah.
the transit authority
Yeah.
will hire me long enough to get my CDLs,
But we can only
and then
train
I'm
to a
gonna drive a dump truck."
right. We can only train to a Class B, so which would eliminate them going to the school system.
Like 2 new buses you already have those?
Nope. So I was out there 2 weeks ago
You're the
to.
first one that's gotten any new vehicles, if that's the case.
Yeah, I know. We were fortunate enough when we went out to bid. The company that we awarded the bid to had chassis on stock, so we actually did a joint procurement with Kentucky, Bluegrass, Kentucky transit area, and then 2 other agencies in West Virginia. So we did it together. They needed 200 buses. We only needed a handful. So we were able to go in with a lot of power behind, a big quantity for that. But they did guarantee X amount of buses by the end of the year. So I did go out early January, see them. They were painted, as you can see the pictures. They needed graphics, and he said the first bus would probably be to us by the end of the month or early February. So I'll bring it downtown for you.
What's the time frame on the new facility?
So the current plan is to go out to bid mid-May, and then hopefully award in September. Now, this week we did have a meeting with a consulting firm that we're working with, so we may delay the bid till the end of June, early July, and then about to, post it and then come back. So I would think that maybe we would issue a notice to proceed if everything lines up by the end of the year. And then construction is 12 to 18 months.
So there's still a few years out. A couple
Yeah.
of years. Yeah. And, you do sell advertising on these buses, right?
I do.
Are they full? Do you still have space for advertising?
We do have spaces for advertising. So our newer buses have the new graphics on them, so we can only do the windows, so it is limiting some of the advertising. But I do have a, not an employee, I did hire a consultant to help us with the advertising. So she's working with us on that, and
Do you charge people to ride these buses, or is this a free service?
so we do charge. Our fares range from $2 to $3.50. You can ride from Martinsburg to Harpers Ferry, $3.50 each way. If you are over 60 or have a disability, verifiable disability, you qualify for a half fare card, and which means your $2 trip becomes $1, or the $3 trip is $1.75. We take cash on the buses. We have an all-day pass we sell for $5. We have a mobile ticketing app that you can go in and buy a monthly pass, which is unlimited trips. Same goes for the monthly pass. Our full monthly pass is $60, and if you qualify for half fare, it's $30. So you can ride all month long for $30 to $60.
So is that an app on your phone or something like that?
It's called Token Transit.
Is there a way that people could hand their phone to somebody else and let them ride on there?
Well, they could, but they've already paid for the, well, then the other person wouldn't get on the bus.
True. Okay.
But if you buy a day ticket, it's an interactive app, so it pulsates. And once you activate if it's a one-way ticket, it pulses, and after 30 minutes, since our loops, really, how it is, past 30 minutes, it's not viable because it's not good for a I mean, you can transfer if you're transferring immediately, but if you get off in 30 minutes and try to come back on, you're not going to get back on because it stops pulsing, which then my drivers know it's not valid anymore.
Gotcha.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Barnhart?
I'm going to go one more, HD. So we do have Passio Go, so in real time, you can see where our buses are. So if you're standing out at Shepherd Martinsburg campus, and you're trying to catch that bus back into town, you can go to the Passio Go app and see in real time where that bus is and when it'll arrive.
That's nice.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Oh.
The Passio. Okay.
Yep.
All righty.
Thank you.
Any other thing?
Nope.
Thank you so much,
I appreciate the consideration, and I very much appreciate Jim being at our board meetings every month and this commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I take a moment of your time?
Sure, Charlie.
I'm the treasurer of the board of directors. I just want to let you know, particularly the new members of the council, how lucky we are to have Elaine as our director. When the virus hit and we lost the contracts at Shepherd and Harpers Ferry, she took action right away to keep us in business. If we had shilly-shallied around and tried to survive, they were, making cuts a little bit here and there, we might not have made it. But she took early action and kept us in business. And when we couldn't bid on the Harpers Ferry contract anymore, as soon as that was lit, very cleverly she approached the people who won the job and got a piece of the action for us. And so we didn't lose all of that funding that way. And it was purely simply to Elaine's efforts that we were able to do that. And since I've been a member of the board, she has done great things at keeping us up with technology. As new and proven technology comes along, we adopt it, and it makes the board, the organization both. I used to be in the military, and we used to get confused about effectiveness and efficiency. As Elaine has adopted the new technology, she has increased both the effectiveness and the efficiency of the organization. And I'm real proud of her and all the things she's done. And I sort of couldn't let that go by, the opportunity go by without saying that to all of you folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next is Tim Zia, Community Corrections Director, Home Confinement and Staffing Update.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'll give you a detailed report of all the programs I'm involved with next Thursday when I come to talk to you about my budgets. But today I'm just here to talk to you about staffing with the home confinement program. We started with 3 officers in 2018, and we're now running with 6 officers. Maximum capacity for the home confinement office is 120 offenders at once. And that includes our home confinement supervisor carrying a full caseload himself. And because of the size of the program now, he arguably needs to spend more time in the office handling administrative duties and providing supervision to the department in general. So I say 120 max. Really, I'd like it to be something like 110. We've been fluctuating between 110 and 120 offenders over the last several months. We really are at capacity. Yes,
What's
sir.
the average sentence?
The average sentence,
Yeah.
I can't tell you an average without doing calculations, but we get people who are sentenced to 30 days. We have guys with 10 years.
Really?
Yep. If I had to take a guess, I would say an average is 6 months.
And if the council will recall, when we took over home confinement, not to interrupt you, Tim, there were very few participants, and because of some previous concerns that public defender's office, prosecuting attorney's office, and magistrate had, it was tough going for a while to get referrals.
It's slow growing.
But now we have a waiting list of referrals of, when we talked a couple weeks ago, was, if I remember, it was like 40.
There's 49 as of today.
So these are folks that if we don't get them into home confinement, you know what the alternative is. So when Tim approached me about the need for probably one home confinement officer this year and one next year, I actually, you know how reluctant I am to do this mid-fiscal year, but it's like, pay me now or, you know, pay me later. And do we want to keep people out? Do we want to keep people out of jail?
Well, what, your home confinement officers, are they ex-police officers or what are they?
Some of them are retirees from the Maryland DOC. I have one. I mean, ideally, the right candidate has law enforcement background of some kind. Yeah.
He cherry picks Mike's guys.
You guys handle the federal home confinement as well?
No.
No. So,
The only
Yep.
thing keeping you from hiring more officers is what, our approval?
Yes, sir.
So if we could, I'm sure you've already done the math. I don't think I'm gonna put you on the spot. So if we would hire that additional person to take over, what's the dollar saved?
It's 20 per, it's pretty much 20 per officer is what the average is here.
I mean,
So-
if it weren't for the home confinement program, just the home confinement program alone in 2022 saved $2,229,092. And these are all people who the law says they have to be incarcerated. If they're eligible based on their living situation and such, many of them can serve their sentence in their home.
It's ludicrous not to
Costs a
do it.
little bit of nothing
It's
to allow them to
ludicrous
live
not
in
to
the
do it.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they
Versus-
actually pay to stay home as well, right?
If they work full-time and the officers actually pay close attention to their income, we don't require them to pay if they live on a fixed income and they're maxed out on bills. But those that work, yeah, they pay supervision fees. We collected $87,308 in 2022.
Do you have a percentage of people trying to escape home confinement or violate the perimeter or whatever? I don't know. What
I don't have that number right now. We might have had 3 to 5 people cut their bracelets off last year. It happens.
How many do you revoke on average?
So in 2022, we supervised 220, 95 were revoked, 125 completed. Revocations aren't always because they
And
broke the law or,
These aren't 8 to 5 jobs either. They have a rotating on-call status. But, for example, on 4th of July a couple of years ago, Tim asked me if home confinement officers could work on the 4th of July and maybe get a substitute day off. And they actually went to the homes to make sure that they weren't using alcohol, they weren't using drugs. So, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
And that's why I don't want the caseloads to get out of hand in order for them to supervise them properly. And that means weekly home visits, regular drug screening, visiting them at their place of employment. Once the caseloads get above that, the level of supervision begins to decrease. And the courts have an expectation that the terms and conditions, home confinement, are going to be enforced. So we make sure that happens.
The conditions that have to be met by the offender, I know that there's quite a list that they have to stay within. And just to make sure that whoever's listening out there on the World Wide Web we're not putting hardened criminals back in home. These are the ones that just deserve that hand up instead of a handout, to give them an opportunity to stay with their family, continue to provide for their families, and be productive.
Yes.
They just made a bad decision.
When we receive new referrals, part of the suitability study that the officers do is looking at their background, looking at the current charges, we don't allow crimes of violence.
Right.
Yeah, all those things are closely looked at.
Yep.
Excuse my ignorance because I'm new, but when you said a waiting list, is the person incarcerated the one that requests to be on the list?
No, the attorneys do.
The attorneys do. So, and what you're saying, there's about 40 on there now. So
49.
Two more officers would, well, you need almost 3, but 2 would take care of 40 of them. You're averaging 20 people per officer is what you're averaging. So. And
I think your request is one now and one effective July 1st, correct?
Yes. But your point is correct.
I mean, if it's saving us money, I'd be glad to go on 2 now if you have that many people on the waiting list, but.
Tim gets whatever Tim wants.
I mean, you certainly could use 2 now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I don't know if you're prepared to make a motion of up, and like Mr. Davis said, in the middle of a budget year, I would personally like to take one bite at a time. I think that's the most reasonable thing to do. We understand the need, and to me, truthfully, more than saving the jail bill fees, which how I feel about that jail bill fee. But being able to keep these families together, hopefully this gentleman or lady is still gainfully employed, that they can keep their employment, still be productive citizens, and just they do pay their debt to society, because I know that those perimeters are pretty tight. They're not out here having a real good time, that's for sure. And nor should they be, because they violated that right. So, but still, at the end of the day, keeping these families together, if we can, is really, really important.
How much money do you need and where you get it?
Well, I mean, we're looking at a home confinement officer for, and it's more than just more than outfitting. It's more than just the salary, because we'll have to buy. Actually, what we're doing now is buying used vehicles, if we can find them. So the total cost of a home confinement officer, pay and benefits, is slightly less than $61,000 plus benefits plus vehicles. The outfitting in vehicle is not an issue. We've got money in the capital budget this year. So we're looking at $60,904 for a full year, and then we would prorate it for 5 months, so roughly less than 30,000, and then we come out of contingency. We have money in contingency. And Tim and I met, two weeks ago or so. What I would recommend, so that we can begin a recruitment process, and also get the vehicles that we need if the council so sees fit, approve one now for the remainder of this fiscal year, and then one to begin July 1st.
Each officer has 20 people at $50 a day on jail fees. That's $1,000 a day he's saving us. Times 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, and the whole year, that's $352,000. So that's a $250,000 savings, and more than a $250,000 savings for each officer. So
Sort of a no-brainer.
we got 5 more months in this fiscal year. We could save how many thousands of dollars in 5 months if we go 2, is my thought. That's just me. So, but can we handle 2 if we chose?
I can do whatever you want.
I don't disagree there either. I mean, you're gonna pay it one way or another. If the money's there, you're saving money with it.
And, you know, through Day Report Center Recovery Resources, Home Confinement Community Service, if you've seen the most recent regional jail expenses, the way it's trending right now, we're gonna come in about $1 million. Unless it blows up, we're gonna come in about $1 million under budget. And it's directly attributed to programs like this.
Just take advantage of it. That's what I see about it. Tim, if you ever got to the point, which I don't think you ever will, where you have more officers than averaging 20 people per officer, I guess at some point you could always lay somebody off or just take them out of the system, but I can't ever see that happen with the growth that we have.
The way things are going, it's not likely.
Right.
Cool.
I would move that we go ahead and try to pursue 2 officers at this time and get that list down as much as we can and save the county that much money over the next 5 months as well.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Are you prepared for 2?
Yes, sir.
Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carried. Mr. Davis,
Make it happen.
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Matthew Umstead, Chair of the Roundhouse Authority.
Morning. How are you all?
Good, how are you?
Good. In December, I was appointed as chair of the Roundhouse Authority Board. For those who are not as familiar, the Roundhouse Authority was an act of the legislature, created in 1999. It's chugging along at 23 years now, I guess, and counting. Lots of effort to, of course, the mission is to revitalize, redevelop, preserve the National Historic Landmark. It is the shops there, rebuilt after the Civil War in 1866 and 1872. It's been a long effort. Been quite a few sums of money put into the property over the years, and lots of effort is continuing. We're requesting $28,000 for the insurance for the property. Our insurance essentially doubled last year. We absorbed the doubling of the insurance and pretty much drained our bank account. Down
Who's
to,
your carrier? Is it Board of Risk?
I believe it's the West Virginia Corps,
Same one the county's in?
West Virginia Association of Counties. I'm under the belief that the reason why it doubled essentially is because we filed a claim for the roof replacement of the roundhouse, and they circled back around and raised our premium. So as you can see, I put together some numbers on our expenses. I spent hours and hours and hours till 2 in the morning at my house putting these numbers together, and kind of getting a baptism by fire about our electric bills and our water bills, and just trying to see what our basic expenses are for utilities and other things that we're spending money on. And I apologize if some of the numbers don't exactly jibe up precisely. Accounting was not my major in college, but I've gave it a good effort. And I tried to put something that was reasonably accurate about what our real utility expenses are at least, and some of our grant funding that's in the document as well. One exciting development, just to move a little bit beyond the insurance issue briefly, is that this Friday and February 3rd, the advertisement will be in the Journal for the bridge and machine shop project for the elevator and stairs and concrete floor in the bridge and machine shop. And just to give you a little background on the bridge and machine, it is the long-standing recommended revenue generator building for the complex. It was recommended back in 2005 to be the revenue generating building to basically sustain and help take care of the property. So the recommendation essentially was get that building redeveloped, get revenue being generated out of that building enough, and you will be able to take care of the rest of the facilities. So this bid opening will be, for that project, will be March the 2nd at 2 o'clock. That bid opening is scheduled to be at the Development Authority offices. Jennifer Smith, one of our board members, agreed to host that. We also have an opportunity for a mandatory site visit for contractors to come to visit the site in next month. So we got some approvals expedited for that. Senator Manchin, I have to publicly thank Senator Manchin, Senator Capito's office for expediting review process to get us to this point with the advertisement. And I'm very, very thankful for their support, as well as the curator Randall Reed Smith in Charleston for pushing some buttons with Secretary Riston with West Virginia Department of Transportation on getting a letter to proceed that we received within the last week. So I need to publicly thank those people for helping expedite this project to where we're, I believe, in a prime position to get maybe some good favorable bid results. With that being said, the estimated cost, and I just wanted to share a little bit of this without saying too much, because you all did contribute matching funds for this grant. The estimated cost right now is higher than the funds that we have from the grant. But we'll see what the bid results, yield, and we'll go from there. We did receive $125,000, which we still have committed from the city of Martinsburg for a separate project. It's designated for HVAC, for the bridge and machine shop again. And we actually have a number of other projects for the bridge and machine shop that need to be completed in order to fully utilize that building, to get it online, to position it to be the revenue generator that we need to really, really fully utilize it. Some of those projects are additional electrical work, and a structural engineering services proposal that needs to be executed, and as well as some additional access issues there with doors. So with that, I can go on to some of the other things we did in the past year. I don't want to read it all, but I'm happy to report that the city of Martinsburg has really, I'd really give kudos to the mayor in particular. He has appointed all three individuals that he was committed to appointing to the board. And we're thrilled to have all three of those members on the board now and participating in our meetings. And the city is working more supportive than ever through the mayor's leadership to help the Roundhouse project move forward. And I just want to publicly thank him as well and let you know that the city is stepping up and has become a stronger partner with this project. And hopefully Main Street Martinsburg, we're working with them a lot more now. And the former chair, you know him over here, Mr. Boyd, worked very hard to try to push the relationship over with the city before I got voluntold into this position in December by the board. Despite my efforts to get other board members to take this role, they voluntold me to do it. And here I am. With that, I'll take any questions.
On your revenue side,
Sure.
private event, rentals, tours, and donations. I see that's down by half from 2021, 2020, 2022. Any reason for that?
Well, that's obviously a big category. I could break it down into some discussion points. We have had limitations with volunteers being able to give tours, number one. We did successfully reach a partnership with a haunted tour business here in town last fall, and that went really well. We're hoping to expand on that relationship to offer more tours and alternative hours of that when more people are looking to have a tour. One of the partnerships that we kind of initiated last year to try to accommodate our lack of volunteers is a partnership with the CVB, which is limited but is able to give tours between 8 and 4 and during the weekdays. Unfortunately, the CVB doesn't have staff to provide weekend tours, and those Saturdays when people want a tour is when we're really missing the opportunity to give more tours on Saturdays and even Sunday. We do have one of the things I'm really thrilled about as well as far as events that really are really helpful as far as revenue and some stability in that area is the home show is returning to the property in March. Eastern Panhandle Home Builders Association signed a 5-year contract last year to have the show there every year for the next 5 years. So we're really excited about that. That commitment, that funding commitment's nice to be able to at least say, okay, one rental is going to net us a fairly large amount of funds to help pay the bills. There is some other collaborations right now. We're working to try to attract an event planner to help us kind of channel more events and even private rentals to the property. Surprisingly, we did have a couple of volunteers who were helping facilitate some craft shows and some other events. They stepped away after a number of years, and frankly, we haven't been able to, there's not been a new event planner to come along just yet, but we're working actively on recruiting and attracting people to help us facilitate some events there. The volunteer board, it is a volunteer board. They have limited abilities to step in and organize an event, so we're hoping that we can work out a contractual agreement maybe with a third party who can work out some kind of revenue split with events that they bring to the site.
So you have nobody on payroll?
No one on payroll, that's correct. No one on payroll.
There was some effort a couple of years ago to put somebody on payroll.
That's a continued discussion with the mayor, actually, and there's been a lot of discussion about trying to facilitate a relationship with, and I've met with the Children's Museum. I shouldn't say met with, I've had conversations with them about partnering and trying to work with the city to try to get a staff, someone at this training station to kind of help facilitate and keep the facilities open. You can't have signage that costs nothing to the city or the county promoting a museum site or a heritage site unless you're open at least 30 hours a week. So what is the point of having all these sites like the Roundhouse or the Children's Museum if you can't have them open? And so the mayor and I have discussed this, and as a citizen of Martinsburg and other people who are citizens of this, on the board, obviously would love to see these places more open more often, and I'm sure downtown businesses and Martinsburg businesses as a whole, hotels, would love to see more regular hours for not only the Roundhouse but all the other heritage sites. But yes, there is a need. There is a need. There has been a little bit of a dip, and basically it ties back to volunteers who were doing yeoman's work to put events together to bring more things. They were not volunteering essentially. They were volunteering, but they were doing real work to make those events happen.
How are you doing for security on that?
We did have a vandalism incident for the first time, and I can recall maybe 20 years. Thankfully, was a recent business. There was stepped up and volunteered to help remove some of that graffiti that was left. They did damage a number of windows of some buildings. This happened, I think, within the last 14 months. It was very unfortunate, but overall, other than that one incident, I don't recall a previous incident of any kind of that level of severity at all. Security generally has not been a problem. We do have wildlife that invade the property. We have 2 deer down there, I think, that are meddling a little bit around, and we have some raccoons as well. But generally, with people, we're okay. The city is replacing a fence as part of the underpass project, so there will be even a more aesthetic improvement that's done at no charge of the roundhouse, and hopefully that'll also help a little bit with security as well. And just again, the 28,000. I know that's a doubling of the amount for the insurance, but we would really appreciate your support if you could help us with that. We're just not generating enough revenue to really fully cover that expense at this time. Hopefully, with the improvements at the Bridge and Machine Shop getting closer to reality, that will change.
Matt, is West Virginia Court aware that that building is now sprinkled and alarmed?
I have not had a conversation with West Virginia Corps about that.
That should drastically reduce the insurance coverage on that particular building.
You-
I would
For the
think.
fire part.
Right. The other 2 buildings, of course, are still not.
No, I understand, but
But you're right. You're right. I would agree that there should be some. I take issue with the rate that increase that occurred. Obviously, I was not on the board until December, and not chairing this board until this month. And but that is on my list of things to check to see if we can have a review of that amount. It just seems really high.
Is
is
that figure is the liability and the building insurance combined, or is it just the liability?
I think it's all of it.
It's typically the entire property casualty. And we've had losses before in theirs, and they've never come in and increased it just due to a loss. But what they do when you're a fairly new client, they typically come in and they'll send in appraisers, and they may have discovered that some of the buildings were undervalued.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was. I couldn't.
So
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Typically, they're
bringing
not
that
going
out.
to double the premium because of a claim. So.
Well, yeah, and I
But
apologize.
I also know from because we are one of the founding members of the participants of the risk pool. They will come up and do an assessment. So I would encourage you to reach out to Steve Rawlings and see if he and I think Mike Reezak could come up sometime. And I know they're in this area pretty regularly.
I appreciate that clarification, Mr. Davis. I'm not nearly as knowledgeable in insurance matters as
And
you
the
are.
risk pool that the county has coverage is liability and the building and all.
Yeah, it's a package.
One deal.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So it is obvious, as you can see on expenses, it is by far the biggest expense we've had, even without the doubling. It was 14,000, and I appreciate that contribution to that, as well as the matching funds and the additional funds that you provided last year for the project for the Bridge and Machine Shop. And on behalf of the board, we really appreciate the county's support overall. Generally, it's been steady, reliable over the years, and I know the people that are passionate about preservation of the property are very much appreciative of that.
Okay. Any other question?
I don't have a question. I could give a comment. That's,
Yeah, you can do a comment.
well, we are with the bids going out and trying to finish this building. We are one step closer to permanent business there, to have a permanent income. So the sooner we get that finished, the sooner there'll be requests for insurance. And we've also been waiting. Mr. Lionheart with the state agriculture has been on waiting for us to have that ready to help us get an employee to be there to run the facility with a farmer's market / Amish market or whatnot on the first floor of that Bridge and Machine Shop. So the sooner we can get that building ready to rent, the sooner we may have a state employee on staff and have the place running and generate revenue to upkeep the rest of the facility. So anytime we come with a request for help, the sooner, like he said, the city has put in money now, and the sooner we get this building done, the sooner it's generating and it's good for the county, the city, and everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. Any other questions, you know where to find me.
Sure. Next on the agenda is a board and commission interview with Mr. Greg Jones, candidate for the planning, CVB, and farmland. Come on up and tell us your name and.
I'm Greg Jones. How you doing?
Good.
All right.
Bear with me. It's my first time speaking in front of you guys. I'm not really sure what you need to know, but I've been a resident of the Eastern Panhandle for 15 years. We are originally from the Northern Panhandle from my dad. My great-grandfather was wounded in the Battle of Manassas, so I have Virginia and West Virginia in me in my blood. Figured as I'm getting up that it's about time to start getting more involved with the community. Notice the advertisements for the commissions. I believe all three of those commissions should actually work together without planning, without getting the Farm Bureau, and without being able to drag people in here for conventions and get some of them to spend some of the tourism dollars. Makes life a lot easier for everybody involved. Is there anything I could ask about?
What do you do?
I'm a CAD manager currently. I do planning for major events and trade shows and exhibits. And, my biggest claim to fame is the Super Bowl commercial that I did for Bud Light a couple years ago. So mainly I've been sitting in my little office over there on Harold Drive and playing with my computer, coming out.
Did you do the one with Louis on the Bud Light?
No, I did the one with the What If. That's when they came in, they did a giant thing, and they did the giant Pac-Man.
Okay.
Like third quarter.
I might have been asleep by then. Sorry about that.
But I've noticed that as I'm walking around that we do need, and somebody with my experience of planning major events and major facilities and stuff like that. I've got 40 some odd years in construction experience. I've dealt with FBI, I've dealt with the Secret Service, dealt with local planning commissions, so I've got the whole gauntlet of background behind me. And I have a little farm off of Harold Drive. So just beginning the farming and an interesting challenge. Didn't do too well the first time because the deer decided to eat my crop, so I'm replanting. So
they know where you are now.
They know where I am now. All right.
Got a smorgasbord going on over there, I'm sure.
I've met Jim before. Charlie is still doing well.
Charlie, okay.
Yep,
Charlie
so-
was a dog that showed up at my property many years ago, and all of a sudden, Greg come over and he says, "We got to get Charlie a home." And we tried to catch him, and the short story is that he was overrunning behind somebody's house. They opened up the sliding door, he ran in, and he was a pet forever. So, but I'm not sure where he's located at right now, but is that the short story of it?
That's the short story, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was quite an effort, a team effort from several people to rescue Charlie.
So
you with the Nature Conservancy and
yes.
Yeah.
But they're just writing a check. It's not like
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just every year they come up and they say you want to be a member and you write them a check.
My take in reviewing your resume and all is that the CVB you'd be a good fit for there for sure with events and all the things. That was my thought. But wouldn't matter to you which.
I'm just.
Or you accept all three. Or you accept all three at the same time.
If you have a need, I could fill it. I do know some event planners. I could
The Roundhouse is looking for event
I
planners.
heard that. I did reach out to the Children's Museum. They were looking for help too, but I've not heard back from.
They're sort of inactive right now.
Right. I was part of the process to put the bid together to build that. I've been around, but not elevated, so
Sort of behind the scenes.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I don't have anything. I appreciate you having interest to serve, different committees in the county, to share your expertise and knowledge and abilities. Thank you.
All right, let me know if I can be your help in any other way. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the item is Sheriff Nathan Harmon for highlights of Sheriff's Department and presentation of Deputy of the Year and Medal of Valor. Honorable Sheriff Harmon, the podium is yours.
I think this is officially the first time I actually got to present in front of our new leadership. So I want to say, first off, congratulations, Councilman Catlett. Congratulations, Councilman Boyd. Mr. President, it's always a pleasure to come up and discuss things with you all in terms of the department, how we're moving forward, and what the council has entrusted our leadership with, not only monetarily, but with visionary ideas and how those have come to fruition. And I want to talk with you a little bit about that as a year in review for 2022. As far as our department's tax office is fully staffed, doing really, really well, has always stayed on the course. Our civilian staffs are actually doing extraordinarily well, especially after even eliminating one person from that. We're able to keep pace with 2022 and going into 2023, so I'm very proud of our civilian staff to be able to keep up with the workload. Our animal control staff has a position open that we're currently advertising for. I'm also proud to say that we've had one deputy graduated from the academy in 2022, but leading into 2023, a little early, we are the first ever county to provide cadets to Fairmont State University's law enforcement program. At the same time, we have two currently in the West Virginia State Police Academy. So it is kind of the perfect storm that we get to see the product that comes out of Fairmont State University as well as the academy in terms of how they're doing things. I'm very curious as to observing those students at Fairmont State University, and we'll make a few trips. We will announce those trips, and any council members willing to go make that trip with me, I extend the invitation. We have hired 8 deputies in 2022. We have 4 people in process, leaving only 1 opened position. We have specific honors that our department received, which was the God One Ministry, recognized the Sheriff's Department for helping keep the community safe. 3rd place in first responder category at Spring Mills Alumni Annual Car Show, recognized for DUI arrests in 2019, 2021. 6th place in West Virginia. 1st place unmarked car at Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, 2nd annual cruiser competition, and we earned 2022 AAA Community Traffic Safety Platinum Award. On December 2nd, we issued at the annual Deputy of the Year Award, we issued 3 letters of commendation and recognized Deputy Yost, Deputy Leonard, and Deputy Azell. Civilian staff, we recognized Jason Scales, and of course the first ever Medal of Valor, we recognized Deputy Knotts. And then of course Deputy of the Year, was Deputy Dunnigan. We also recognize the tax office, Julie Davis, and Animal Control Officer of the Year, Kim Gadomski. And we recognize these individuals because not only do they do their duties, but they do them well and they reflect professionally upon the department, and we want to make sure that we show them that appreciation. One of the major goals that we had coming into office in 2021, we continue in 2022 with transparency and that dedication to that transparency. The Berkeley County Sheriff's Office launched its first ever website, a Berkeley County Incident Response Tracking database that now a citizen can go to the website, go to this database, and literally see the calls for service almost in real time. Last I checked, it was a 8-hour or 24-hour loop. Gary's promised to improve that time, but it was a game changer in terms of the citizens seeing a law enforcement across the street and not necessarily giving the address, but a general description of the call. I've received nothing but good feedback because of it. Berkeley County Deputy Sheriff Reserve website was launched for the first time. Online ability to generate certain reports, online reporting. I'll give an example using myself. I probably went through 3 mailboxes. I'm not calling a deputy out for that. It's young people and their shenanigans over the weekend, but I can report the property damage without bringing a deputy out there for maybe homeowner's insurance or something of the like. So we were able to potentially, we still got to see the fruitions of that. I want to give, I think Captain Gardner's in the back of the room. He spearheaded that initiative, and I'm glad to say that it's up and running for our citizens. Created the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department recruitment video. If you haven't watched it, we've got the long version of 14 minutes, and we've got the short version of 3 to 4 minutes. It was very well produced. Randy Sullivan had spearheaded that, and I got to say it was one of the most professional pieces I've seen come out, and I'm very proud of that. We attended James Rumsey and Workforce West Virginia job fairs. We just had a testing this past weekend, by the way. When I move on to training, of course, the idea was to get this training, get everybody up to date, get everybody certified, get our instructors up to date, and start some in-house training. But just to give you an idea of what kind of training we've been involved in, free training was civil service training seminar, stuff we didn't pay for. Interpersonal Violence Summit, mindfulness-based resilience training, non-fatal strangulation, West Virginia State Police partial training, West Virginia Court Security Seminar, and Emergency Management Division Standard Reunification Method Seminar. I could go on and on, but there's multiple free training sessions: active threat table, top exercise, conflict resolution, which is part of the Health and Wellness Act grant, Air Ride, which is advanced roadside impaired driving enforcement, and presenting and preparing federal cases. Additional free training that we only paid for lodging was Maryland State Police Accident Reconstruction School, Law Enforcement, FBI Law Enforcement Instructor School, Axon Master Taser Instructor Certification, which is a step towards in-house training for our deputies, so we're not sending them off. Specialized SWAT concealed carry skills at vehicle incidences, prevention resource school officers training. And of course, what we had to host at our department is Truckers Against Trafficking, the national training NTOA manual and shotgun breaching, mental health first aid, autism awareness, Stinger spike system instructor training, Beacon active shooter training, the NTOA resolution of barricaded subjects, NTOA high risk warrant service. And when I say NTOA, it is a tactical school that provides our officers, especially our SWAT team, with nationally recognized training. NTOA high risk warrant service, department in service, utilizing EPIC and the prosecuting attorney's office. This is the second year we've had annual in-service, never to have occurred before. And I'm very proud of that initiative too, because it gives us updates from the prosecuting attorney's office, federal agencies that want to say, hey, this is me, and introduce themselves, as well as resources in the county, so it keeps our deputies up to date in terms of how to use those resources. Over the past 2 years, and of course this goes into the investment that you've put into the department and our promise to do in-house training, we are now able and can do in-house training in the following areas, which is TASER certification, OC certification, firearm certification, less than lethal certification, close quarters combative certification, wall banger operation, defensive tactics, active shooter training, Stinger spike system, and armor for pistol and rifle. We have an intro to dive, open water, advanced rescue, dive master, and master scuba as well. We've participated in over 13 charity events as a department, which include the first responder parade for the 3-year-old Haley Gant's birthday, Horses with Hearts, Back the Blue benefit, Project Linus, which is handmade blankets donated for children encountered on scene or in need. Berkeley County Youth Fair aided Morgan County with Apple Butter Festival. No Shave for the Brave, which I'm proud to say our civilian staff participated in. Our female civilian staff got creative and taped mustaches on their face, and they raised more money than I did. So it was and they started later than I did. So I applaud them for that. The Inwood Christmas Parade and 5K. I ran it for the second time, but our department donated, deputies and deputies reserve to keep everybody safe and divert traffic. And Cincy Buddy Drive, where Marlene Thomas donated items to be given to kids encountered on scene. And these are stuffed animals you put Cincy items in. It's kind of sensory, get them distracted from bad incidences like domestics or drug-related incidences. Other events that we've attended, which has been over 14, has been not only the cruiser competition, but the U.S. Coast Guard birthday celebration, the FBI CGIS Memorial in honor of fallen West Virginia law enforcement officers. I was very humbled to attend that ceremony. It was very well done. EMS Week Cookout, hosted by WVU Medicine. The SMILE Initiative, Health is Wealth, Community Health Fair. Good Samaritan Free Clinic Block Party. Martinsburg Star-Based Family STEM Night. Various trunk or treats. Second Annual Spring Mills Middle Family Fall Festival, and Eastern Panhandle Board of Realtors Luncheon, just to name a few. For our grants, and I'd be remiss if I did not give a large thank you and applaud to Tracy Gilliams and her office and your grant office for at least applying for over $3 million worth of grants, in which we received the DHS Targeted Violence Terrorism Prevention Grant, totaling to $383,563. The pending grants that's still coming to us is worth about $76,985.18, most of which is for SWAT equipment. And I'll revert right back to the Fairfax incident that we had last year, and worked with City PD and other agencies to resolve that incident. I identified several areas where we needed updated equipment, and that included helmets with integrated communication systems. And I'm proud to say that our team now has that. As sheriff for the department and my commitment to transparency, I attend WEPM and WRNR radio every single month, and for special topics or anything like that if they call me in, but I make myself available for that. Countywide site-specific training, exercise, and evaluations for active shooter preparedness. I personally was one of the coordinators with that, with the task force, and I got to say, though it was in Jefferson County, it was received very well. and we are currently in the plannings of doing another one here in Berkeley County, sponsored by the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office, and working with Dr. Branch and the Berkeley County Schools. I recently spent the day down in the Capitol last week and attended the Fall State Auditors In-Service Training in Wheeling. Some seminars that I attended was the Fentanyl Symposium in Charleston, Emergency Management Division Reunification Method Seminar in Davis, West Virginia, and West Virginia School Safety Conference hosted by Mountain State in Charleston. I believe that was the first school safety conference to be held. Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grantee Symposium, and we presented Handle with Care Annual Conference on Drug Trends in West Virginia. I love giving presentations in terms of drug trends and informing the public on what's occurring out there. Personal safety of personnel to the Martinsburg Initiative was a class that we did. We also did a class of safety and awareness in private homes for hospice. And of course, we spoke to the Junior Order of American Mechanics State Convention. We continue to go around to the HOAs and give advice and recommendations on how to improve their individual safety, but also, I'm advocating their assistance on enforcement of out-of-state tags. And we talk about the details of that. We've received a lot of equipment in 2022, so you all are aware of, again, another investment. Class B vests and uniforms for the Deputy Reserves, updated badges for Animal Control, respirator masks for Animal Control, all traffic solution devices, and you may have seen one or two around the county on the interstate or on secondary roads. I'm proud to say that the county bought one, we bought one, and then of course Delegate Forrest and Delegate Horst took their economical grant allowance that they have and receive every year and donated those funds to purchase two more, and we have those two more active as we speak. Flex shields for the school resource officers. These are deployable shields kept in the place that they know, and if God forbid they ever need them, they got the protection, additional protection now if something were to happen. We fully restocked the crime scene processing supplies. We invested in less than lethal and breaching and munitions for the department, also for training and duty. Uniforms and supplies replaced for honor guard. We're getting them new jackets. Cameras for patrol officers, and recalibration of PBTs. Last but not least, the activity of the department. The total calls for your county in 2022 was 40,213. I'm proud to say that our department handled over half of those, with 23,274. State Police handled 5,933. City Police handled 7,221. EMS, 12,501. County Fire, 3,897, and City Fire, 1,214. I'm also proud to say that we're actually seeing a decline in some of the important areas, like total arrests was down by 77. Last year, 2021, we had 835. This year, 2022, we had 758. We're also down on SWAT deployments, where 2021 we had 27. This year 2022 we had 20. K-9 deployments were up a little. We have 282 this year. We have our CID was working very diligently on cases, and of course that is up, where 2021 they cleared 170 and had 152 pending. In 2022 they cleared 210 and have 170 pending. Dive callouts, we had 15. You have a 9-person dive team that is now, because of new dive suits and regulators and equipment, they're getting there in terms of being able to more efficiently go on these calls, and we are being utilized quite a bit, and we share resources and team efforts with Frederick County, Virginia, and their dive team. accidents, and as you know, we're growing, so doesn't the accidents. 2021, we had 5,293, and 2022, we have 9,972, up by 4,679. And then we have ACE team arrests of 184. In 2021, they had 222, so I'm glad to see that down just a little bit, but they're still pretty active. I am very proud of our commitment to the U.S. Marshal Task Force, where Deputy Leonard is full-time there as a representation of the Sheriff's Department. And I got to say, he's done a phenomenal job in his position, where as of since May of 2022, he has serviced 124 felony warrants from our department. And then, of course, I want to give a big shout out to our reserves. Our reserves, selflessly volunteer countless hours to help us. As you saw the weather yesterday, that I was out in, proud to be driving around with my deputies, helping them in the accidents. I got to experience it as well, but the reserves were called out to help with the multiple accidents and motorist assist that was taking place yesterday. But to give you an idea, 2022, they donated 3,270 hours of their personal time. They've saved the county over $123,000, and technically the cost of 2.5 deputies. They average 272.5 hours a month. That is your 2022 year in review in a snapshot. I can go on and on, but I'm very proud to present next
Before
the deputy.
Before you present the next,
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions about the year in review? Or
Impressive,
very impressive, yes.
especially the training. You're training everybody, probably plus some.
Yeah, we're training in all facets of, it's a challenging time we live in, and at the end of the day, something occurs, that one of the first things they look at is have you had training in that specific area,
Yeah, your
mental
training-
hygiene and stuff.
Training is much more than previous sheriffs, as far as I have observed. It's impressive.
And that, I got to give it to the grants. I mean, there's countless free trainings. We might pay for lodging here or there, but there's a way more. 3/4 of the training that I mentioned was free. So I had to slow down actually with our personal requests of training, because Tracy was keeping up with me pretty good. But
On the accidents, they almost double. Is there a concentration where those are at? Are they on the interstate? Are they on congested areas like Hedgesville? Do you have any kind of percentage where they went up at more so than
well,
others?
I will say that our interstate initiative that WU Medicine partnered with me on and our department to bring out safety recommendations and bringing to attention in Charleston the problems we were having on I-81, especially with the construction. I'm proud to say the construction has more than improved. I mean, there's still a little bit of it and whatnot. We have now we have deputies concentrated on the interstate. We have the all-traffic solution devices, but I have to say a majority of your increase has to be on the interstate and areas of construction like Inwood. That's causing a lot of confusion, especially when you're dealing with 5 traffic circles. So, yeah.
Is that causing a whole lot more accidents, obviously?
Well, just the other day, someone was going the wrong way on one. So I'm a big advocate of, we'll put out some educational pieces on our social media in terms of how we drive in the snow, what a front wheel skid is, and how to recover from those things. But, and I also put one out on traffic circles. I shared one. And I think, we need to do that a lot more when we're introducing something so significantly different, when a lot of folks, my wife still avoids them completely as much as she can. But
I stopped the car, but it was coming down the off ramp to get on the interstate the wrong way at exit 5. And you don't know how scary that was. And I mean, cars were pulling over to get down at the bottom of the ramp, made a hard right, and got south on 81. I don't know what kept them from ever getting T-boned, ran over.
It's really confusing the two next to the exit of the interstate right there. That's.
Well, you got the on-ramp of Table Station, that is extremely narrow, and I even get nervous entering on the interstate in those areas. Understand that I'm in constant contact with the interstate safety specialists and the safety engineers. We're talking about things that we identify. They're currently doing the lighting project as we speak, but improvements are being done, and we're out there in presence now, and we're reminding the public what the speed limit is, and we're creating a visual presence. So I'm in hopes that you'll see a decline versus this past year, simply because of the construction's cleaning up.
Do you think maybe putting up electronic signs about and directed to a website of instructions of traffic circles might help people?
Yes.
Because how do you educate? They don't go to the DMV every year to get updated on these type of things. Like, how can we educate them? Direct them in the right direction to learn about it.
And so good point, Councilman. I plan on driving with commercial vehicles with TV10 with us and doing these educational pieces. That was one of the I-81 safety initiatives that we did. We had WVU Medicine's marketing group jump in the cruiser with us, and we went on the interstate showing folks these infractions, what was occurring, what is following too closely, what's the safe follow distance. Just like yesterday's weather, I was surprised to see how close people were following the tail end of another, and when you should actually be giving a lot more standoff. So education is paramount, and our office is planning on getting with Mr. Umstead and investing a lot more in, I wouldn't say live streams, but visual education pieces, just like you said.
Yeah.
Sheriff, I did take the opportunity last Friday to speak with the traffic engineer, Mr. Clovan, about additional signage to prevent folks from going the wrong way, coming around the circle. If somebody makes a mistake, in particular at Arden-Allville Road, they think they're turning on Arden-Allville, but in fact they turn on to the exit ramp of I-81.
Yeah.
So I said, please take another look at it. If we need additional signs there, please see to it that it gets there. So we're.
But so you may have experienced it, and I'm a big advocate of signs that really pop out. Let's say, for example, the triangle, the Arden Triangle, there as you're going 45 up towards the top of the mountain, towards Buck Hill Road. That triangle has since you got to stop now at every stop sign. It can't be you stop unless turning right now. It changed, and they put these orange flags on it, which was good. I mean, it was an eye opener, and they took the white signs off of stop unless you're turning right. Well, I think what would be more effective is if you further identify problems, just like you're saying, is that the LED outlined stop signs or wrong way signs on our county roads. You can't put them on the interstate, but you can certainly invest in them on our Berkeley County roads, our primary and secondary roads. So I'll be interested to see more conversations to be had and that kind of investment. But I've noticed that does very, very well.
I think once the construction up around the roundabouts gets more complete, the right signage will go up, and will take away some of the confusion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even temporary signage. I drive through the area daily, and I'm always on the phone with Bill. So he's the 81 safety specialist. I got on speed dial, so whenever I see something, I'll mention that to him as well, sir.
My rate mark shows the same as HD. That almost doubling the accidents just shocks me that they didn't increase that much. But the other thing I wanted to clarify, the 40,213 calls, I'm assuming that's 911 calls you said? That's your dispatch, and you handled over half of those.
Yes, sir.
That's how many we handled.
Okay.
Of the calls at 911 dispatch, we handled 24,000 of those.
24,000 of those from 911, and then in addition, this other
So our total calls were
40-some thousand. That's,
Obviously, as you're well aware, public safety is a very dynamic thing. These men and women put their uniforms on selflessly, sacrifice themselves selflessly on a daily basis. And some do it consistently well. And so much so that we want to recognize their efforts each and every year. And I'd like to introduce you to our first place deputy of the year, Deputy Dunnigan. And this is the citation that we read in the awardance of his award for the John Burkett III Deputy of the Year Award, which will remain that title for as long as I'm in office. And mind you, I read this, and the deputy didn't know who they were until the very end. We kind of put it as a surprise like that, and we described the deputy. The deputy is that. This deputy is one that deputy that collectively, as a department, you only see a handful of times. One that is well-rounded in every aspect of law enforcement, and to define well-rounded with the hats we all wear nowadays would literally take me way too long to detail. But this deputy has been described, witnessed, and nominated by his supervisors and his peers. And I couldn't agree more with their description of this deputy, as I have personally witnessed this deputy while they worked with another ride-along. This deputy's interaction with the public and his co-workers is also as what I witnessed. The following narrative is what I received from his peers and his supervisors. This deputy is extremely reliable at work, shows up on time, and you never have to wonder where they are at shift brief because they are the first ones there. His fellow deputies always feel good on any call that goes sideways, but with this deputy on scene, even in bad situations, they always felt confident on a safe outcome for all. This deputy's loyalty to his fellow officers unmatched and constantly displays such loyalty to his brothers and sisters in blue. Even as a newly hired deputy, this deputy was praised for his weapons handling skills and tactics, as this deputy and his fellow officers were looking for an armed suspect with several buildings in the immediate area to clear. Not only on the job, but off the job as well, this deputy has shown deep respect to everyone he encounters while displaying great pride and dedication because he truly cares about his department, how his department is viewed in his eyes of others, but never lets one disrespect the patch. This deputy is the first to volunteer for any job, even if the job is the least desirable. This deputy knows that it must be done. Let's get it done. And again, speaks volumes towards his character. This deputy dedicates 100% effort into their assignments, so much so that his superiors do not have to worry or micromanage him because they know it will be done with their best foot forward, as they have always done so many times before. When called upon by their shift, this deputy never says no, and is always publicly available, or is always available, a sacrifice that I am sure doesn't come easily. It is simply said by his superiors, "I need you," and this deputy answers the call. There simply isn't one particular case to cite or describe involving this deputy because they have handled so many with the same consistent passion, dedication, and diligence I have already noted. He simply approaches each call and each investigation as if it were them having been the victim. It is said amongst the deputy's shift, when someone talks about unsung hero, this deputy is the first that comes to their mind. This deputy is truly the example I pray we all follow, and though I can never say thank you enough, I would be honored that Deputy Dunnigan receive the John Burkhardt III Deputy of the Year Award. And I'd like to present that award officially in front of you to him again. And I got to say, our vendor that utilizes or that makes our trophies come through diligently for us, and I think you'd be impressed with the award itself. They get a plaque to take home, but the crystal stays at the office. So I'd like to officially recognize them as deputy.
Wow. Well done, sir. Well done.
So one of the features that I love most about this is that Jack Lang did a really good job about the shelving and everything. And if you put a light under it, it highlights the officer that's lasered in the center of it. So it's a very unique piece. So they did a good job doing that. And this officer, this is actually, I believe it is in a model of Sergeant Linnaeus saluting the memorial stone out in front of our office.
So where do you display this thing?
This is, as soon as you come through the double doors and make a left to our executive hallway, you'll see the shelf on your left.
Congratulations, Deputy.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Again, our office is so dynamic, it's hard to see or project what we may encounter each and every day. And a lot of times, it's very risky and life-threatening. Our office decided to implement a ribbon and metal policy in the face of a situation that occurred. But one of those was the Medal of Valor, which is one of the highest honors awarded within our department. It is awarded for a conspicuous deed of personal bravery and self-sacrifice above and beyond the call of duty that distinguishes the recipient from his comrades. And I'm proud to say that this individual's actions, and I'm 100% confident in saying, saved lives on this day. On Saturday, November 26, 2022, Deputy David Knotts exhibited bravery above and beyond the call of routine duty while assigned to the Patrol Division of the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. On the aforementioned date, the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department became involved in a vehicle pursuit within the city of Martinsburg. The driver of the fleeing vehicle engaged in numerous reckless acts to include discharging his firearm through his windshield multiple times of it through his vehicle, targeting multiple law enforcement officers from several agencies upon approach. As the pursuit drew to a conclusion, the driver intentionally and deliberately discharged rounds aimed directly at the oncoming cruiser of Deputy Knotts. Without hesitation, Deputy Knotts, realizing the threat facing himself, law enforcement, and countless numbers of civilians in the immediate area, immediately and selflessly acted to end the encounter by engaging the suspect vehicle with his police cruiser. This act by Deputy Knotts removed the ability of the suspect being able to continue to endanger the lives of countless law enforcement officers and the public at large, done so without regard for his own personal safety and well-being. This distinctive bravery displayed on the aforementioned date by Deputy David Knotts reflects the credit not only upon himself in the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department, but the community into which he serves. And I'm proud to give the first ever Medal of Valor ribbon and medal to Deputy David Knotts.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Yes, and these pictures as well.
Thank you. Actually, I got a picture of that scene.
You get to wear that on your uniform?
Try.
Kind of wage you for it, I think.
On our Class A's, as you see me wearing now, yeah, he gets to wear it on there. But very proud of our men and women. And again, I thank you for your time today. Looking for a better and more prosperous and efficient 2023. Thank you.
I took the picture from the front windshield of my truck, but I was
Oh, did you?
stopped at the stoplight, so I wasn't driving.
Thank you,
Thank
Sheriff.
you, guys.
Thank you guys, thank you.
I'll get a couple pictures. Yeah, we want to take a short break and get a few pictures. Is that okay? we're back in session, and last item on the agenda is Alan Davis, County Administrator, State Budget Revision 07, Fund 001.
Yes, sir. In your packet is State Budget Revision 7 to the general fund. And for the council members that are new to the council, State Budget Revision number 7 that we make and typically make at the end of January is normally our largest state budget revision. The council approved budgets effective July. Actually, they approved budgets last March that became effective July 1st. Since that time, you had provided some new positions that weren't on the initial budget. For example, a mechanic at Central Garage, one additional assistant prosecuting attorney, and one legal director, and 2 deputy court marshals. Also, a month or so ago, the council authorized the transportation division of the court martial division that we've set up as a separate department under Department 801, and we've hired 4 employees to assist in that department effective February 1st. So this state budget revision that's in your packet is reflective of the pay increases that the council approved in August of 15%, and all of the additional personnel that I've mentioned. Now, just a couple things of note. Our IT department continues to assist outside agencies. You'll see in your packet 23 payments from outside agencies totaling $111,765. Our gas and oil severance tax, in typically what we do is after 6 months and again after 9 months, we'll review revenues, and we'll adjust revenues based on those revenues that overperform. You can see the gas and oil severance tax. We projected that we would collect $230,000. As of the end of December, we collected $607,176, which is 264% of projections. We also sheriff's earnings, which is miscellaneous earnings from the sheriff's department. We projected at $25,000. We collected an additional $64,932 for a total of $89,932. Regional jail reimbursement fees, that's that one-time fee that we get in July. And the state treasurer's office sets aside a stipend of what we pay per inmate per day into a special fund. They take that total amount that's set aside for the fiscal year. They total the total number of inmate days throughout the state, and then they proportionately provide that stipend reimbursement to the counties based on inmate participation. We had projected that our regional jail reimbursement would, again, which is a one-time disbursement, would be about $160,000, and we never know whether, based on the state's calculation, whether our inmate population as a percentage of total is going to be up or down. So, and it's not a large percentage of our total budget, but we projected $160,000. Our regional jail reimbursement was actually $170,730. Interest paid to us, again, overperformed by $66,434. Gaming income we had projected to be $35,000, have collected $67,943, and then at the very end of the income, we collected a small amount of money for which is classified as transfers from other, as well as payroll reimbursements. So the total amount of this state budget revision, which as I stated is typically the largest one that we do all fiscal year, is slightly more than $2.5 million, and is reflective of all the personnel changes that the council has approved for the first 6 months of the year. Of course, it's not reflective of the two home confinement officers that you just approved today. We'll pick those up at the end of the third quarter of the fiscal year. The good news is you're right where we kind of thought you would be.
Very good.
Question on the jail reimbursement, you said it's a one-time thing. Is that just one time this year or once a year?
It's lump sum. It's a lump sum distribution that's normally received no later than the 20th of July. So it's
it's once a
received
year.
every year.
Yeah.
In Kanawha County normally gets the biggest amount because they have the largest number of inmates, and we're typically not too far behind though.
Okay. Do we need a motion to approve the state budget revision 07 Fund 001?
So moved.
Have a motion or a move
Second.
and a second? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. And last item is a possible executive session for county personnel, real estate acquisition, legal matters, and economic development.
Just very, very short, to talk about possible litigation.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to, or President, I move to go into executive session for legal matters.
Will there be any action taken?
No, sir, there will not.
So would it be appropriate for me to, any items from the public?
Yes, sir.
Any items from the public? None? Okay. We are in executive session.
There you go, Tam. Thank you.
Okay, we're out of executive session, no action taken, and no items from the public. Mr. Barnhart,
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move to recess.
we are in recess. Thank you, gentlemen.